Hey guys, this is Waylon at Discount Fireworks at the Ripon store, WisconsinDiscountFireworks.com, Princeton, Ripon, Necedah, and Oxford, Wisconsin. Today I just want to discuss for newbies and maybe even not newbies, just people that don't understand all the fireworks. Um, when we have new people asking questions, basically I like to explain everything on the 500 grams and 200 grams and how it works. I'm just going to start out with like the weight of the cake is not a factor. You know, you pick one up and it's real heavy. Generally, people are confused and think it's real heavy, and this is going to be a great cake. I want to show you like on Big and Bad. I'll cut this open for you, but the center is full of concrete, and it is a great cake, and it's a heavy one. But we have so many light ones that just because they're light doesn't mean they're not better. All right, so this is the brick of concrete I pulled out of the Big and Bad, a 200 gram cake. And then here's one of our very light 500 gram cakes. This piece of concrete is about twice the weight of this 500 gram cake. And this Armed Forces cake, it will blow this cake out of the water way better. So now that we've gone through weight, we'll talk about some other things. Alright, so when you're going and you're looking at all these 500 gram cakes and you're trying to pick one out and you don't know what they do, haven't watched no videos, you're just kind of last minute buying fireworks. You know, my biggest explanation is you got 9 shots in a 500 gram cake. You're gonna get 9 shots that go really high in the air with 9 big breaks. And then you've got a cake like this, man cave, 36 shots. So you're gonna have the same amount of powder in those 36 shots as your 9 shots. So it's gonna be an awesome cake. There's gonna be a lot more excitement, a lot more breaks. A lot of times you'll have mine effects. You know, it's a great finale cake. And I always, for a finale, I always just say, you know, grab a 36 shot and a 9 shot. You know, maybe, and if you want more, throw a zipper cake in there. Then with the 200 gram cakes, a lot of the smaller 200 grams, they're all pretty good. You know, you get the same thing as what you're getting in a 500 gram cake. Just you don't get as loud or as big of breaks, but ultimately the same thing. And you can still get them with mines like this Patriotic Boom, $7 now, and you get mines and 10 breaks. It's a great cake for $7. You know, so you could be looking at the same thing on a 500 gram cake. You know, say the big shot. You know, 9 shots, $44. So you're getting the same thing just in a larger scale. Now when you go to the larger size, most of them do not say 350 grams. Most of them just say 200 grams. But the medium sized cakes are always much better than the smaller 200 gram cakes. So even though they say 200 grams, I do believe that they are more like a 350 gram cake, because definitely the mid-size are almost always better than the smaller sized cakes. So these are all mid-size, I consider them, and then these sizes are the smaller size. But yeah, so many of these they're very good. You can run a show. You can do 20 cakes, 200 gram cakes in a row, and two 500 gram cakes at the end, and you're gonna have a fantastic show at a way smaller budget. Now we're gonna look at zipper cakes. We've got a pretty good selection this year. You know, so they generally run this year. They're between $100 and $150. The payback, that's a $150 cake. It's huge, and that one is like it's color pearls, 203 shots I think, and all of them are color pearls with reports. So that one's pretty cool. Sucker Punch, And so many people believe that these are to the point where they're overpriced. But when I do a show, I usually stick to ones that I know people love, the Amazing Ballet and Road to America. And this Golden Peacock has been very popular. That's one of the cheapest ones this year. It's $99. Road to America and Amazing Ballet are $106 and $109. But when I do a show and I go back and watch my videos, when these go off, that's when you hear the crowd. These are the crowd pleasers. So if you're gonna do $1,000 fireworks show or better, you know, I believe you need to put one of these in there. You just need to eat it and put it in there because they really do make the show. You know, I did one of these Amazing Ballets and Road to America at the same time. Just awesome. Guy brought in a video. He did the Amazing Ballet, and then he did 2 Tada 500-gram cakes on the side for his grand finale, and then he took a video with his drone, and it looked like such a professional display. It was very, very cool. So, you know, it was a $200 finale, but well worth it. That's what people are going to remember. Now the NOABs, you know, I think a lot of people are confused on the NOABs, and they buy them for their finales. I 100% do not agree with putting these in your finale because they are so expensive. You know, they are between $100 and $120. They will go a little higher, bigger breaks, but when you're lighting off some good 500-gram cakes, some 9 shots and stuff in your finales, you cannot separate them from these 3-inch racks. And so many of these racks have very special effects that one other break going off with it, you're gonna kill the effect. You're not gonna see it. So I personally, I believe these need to be lit off by themselves. Watch some videos. You know, the Magnum Tremors, just such an awesome effect. And the Jellyfish, Uncle Sam and I Want You, both great cakes. Pyro Candy, Ghost Shell. Disco Ball is another special effect. Mother of All Bombs, great Nishiki effect. Midnight Sun. I don't remember what those two do, but they've all got such a special effect that's what you're paying for in my mind, and you need these to go off by themselves, and you know that's what they're there for in my eyes. Saturn batteries. A lot of these are just whistling rockets. I like to throw them in on the show and just for some noise. They're pretty cool. We've got some other things like Boxing King. That's a mine cake. All mines. It's not going to go very high. You know, it's something that I would do as an additional. You light that off while something else is going off. Sky Shooter and Inferno Punch. They're pretty nice. You could probably do them by themselves with some during your 200-gram section. Reloadable artillery. You are going to get your biggest breaks out of these, biggest bangs. You know, these are definitely the hardest to work into a show. You know, you have to have the tubes. If you don't have a lot of tubes, you have to reload them. But these are the biggest and the best, and you know, they're fun to play with. If you just want to do one firework, you know, shoot something off, these are awesome. We have Fuse. A is 24 to 30 seconds a foot. This is 10 seconds a foot. And then I've also got some new stuff that I haven't stocked yet. It's about 1.5 seconds, 1 second per foot. And you know, I do have another video. I'll have to get that online here on how I fuse the show together. And if you're the guy spending the money, it's awesome to take the time and glue a board together, fuse it all together. You light one fuse and you go out and you watch your show. Because if you bought all the fireworks and you're lighting all the fireworks, you're not going to see any of the fireworks. If you're trying to do a show and trying to please people and you're lighting one after another, you will not see them. And here's something I have to point out. So many of the cakes, even square ones, say face this side towards spectators for a better view. So if you have this sideways and there's 4 going off, if you have the cake pointed the wrong way and they're all going off at the same time, you'll basically just see one instead of a spread across the sky. And like here, so here's a square one. This is face this side towards spectators. So a lot of times, like when I set up my show, I take a knife, little box cutter knife, and I cut the entire top off to make it clean up real easy. None of this paper is shredded all over your yard. So it's very easy to clean up. And then you're looking inside the box, and if there's any angled tubes in there, you're gonna automatically know which way to face the cake. Because I know I do it all the time. I like cakes sideways. You just don't know, but you cut the tops off. There's no question, you don't need to read the cake. You know exactly by looking inside of it how to light it. Now fountains, I know most of our customers don't even touch the fountains or look at the fountains anymore. And fountains are made, they're so good these days. A lot of the fountains will shoot 10, 12 feet in the air. A lot of crackle, a lot of noise. And I want to point out here in my fountain section, I consider them a fountain, but if you look, this one and Bad Boys, they both say emits showers of sparks, and they say shoots flaming balls. They don't really have shots, but they have these like 25 foot, 30 foot crackling bursts. So, and then your regular fountain may be 8 feet, 10 feet tall. So yeah, a couple of these going off in your show or before your show or even in your driveway with the kids. I mean, they're pretty exciting, especially if you're in the city and you want something where it's like, well, I want something big, but I don't want anything highly illegal. You know, something you can maybe push your limits with. These are the things to do it with. And here's some other stuff that's great for, you know, in town, push your limit kind of thing. They're not going to shoot real high. You might get 40 feet out of them. Maybe a little higher, but no big breaks. Premium Happy Planet, Pack a Punch, 96 color pearls. Yeah, you know, you might get 60, 70 feet out of them. I don't know, but they're nothing that's going to shoot somebody's window out. You know, and as long as you're following all your safety stuff and you're giving yourself the proper distances, you should be good. But then like these two, you know, a lot of these little 200 gram cakes, they're very, very powerful and they're so small. These should be blocked in, glued down, or pushed into some sand. You know, they'll bounce, they'll tip over. There's a lot of power in that little cake. So, you know, safety is a big part of it. You want to keep everybody safe and have a good time. Rockets, you know, rockets are always, in our selection of rockets is not that great anymore. Man, we used to sell a ton of rockets, but any good kits right now, they're so expensive. I just don't feel like using the space in our store is worth it. A lot of the good kits, like, you know, I'd have to sell them at $60, $70. And I haven't found a good company to import that stuff from yet. So we'll get them back in, but this year, not a huge selection on the rockets. But yeah, just, you know, always remember with the rockets that when you're lighting them off, a stick comes back down. So, you know, you need the space to light that stuff off. Something to me that's important with sparklers, a lot of people would never think about it, is wood stick or wire stick. And you know, the wire sticks, you got your kids doing these. You have little 5-year-old kids running around with these. The sparkler's gone, and where does the wire stick go? It goes in your driveway, and you know they can go in. They can puncture tires. A lot of the sparklers we have bamboo wooden sticks. When the sparkler's gone, you got this little wood stick left. The wood that's throughout the sparkler had burnt away. You don't have a hot metal rod hanging out. So to me, that is the way to go. Alright guys, I don't know what else to talk about, so you know, if you have any other things people should know about, post it in the comments. This video, I just really wanted to explain things to people that want to buy fireworks, and you know, they want to do it right, but looking for a little insight in what they should watch for and how they should build a show. Alright guys, take it easy. We'll see you soon.